Starting on the 5th of June 1944, when the battalion sailed from the Solent into the Channel on the evening of the 5th of June. Earlier, owing to bad weather, the worst in June for 20 years, D-Day had been postponed 24 hours by General Eisenhower. The soldiers had been living in cramped conditions on board their troop ships for the previous 5 days. It was the weather which was again to play a devastating part on D-Day itself. As the soldiers embarked at 6 a.m. into their small 10-man assault craft, 7 miles from the Normandy coast, there was still a 4-foot sea running and very poor visibility. When about 4 miles away, the coast could be seen dimly through the haze, and morale was raised by the roar of the naval guns in close support. Heavy concentrations of fire by the Royal Navy ships and RAF bombers on the German defences had been planned to take place before the landings. However, due to bad visibility, all this bombardment overshot, and the enemy positions escaped untouched, including those at La Hamel, as we were soon to find out. The Hampshires had 4 rifle companies as their main assault troops. 2 were to make a direct frontal attack against the main defensive position at La Hamel, a small coastal village on a headland. Here the Germans had built a large concrete hospital come strong point, and a number of fortified houses and pillboxes. These had commanding views both out to sea and along the invasion beaches. The 2 other companies were to attack further along the beach, through barbed wire fences and minefields, and across the sand dunes, and then capture the town of Asnell, a mile inland. As the assault troops closed to within 100 yards of the beach, the first enemy fire was met, but no casualties resulted. It was still the sea that remained the main problem at this stage. First, several landing craft encountered sandbars on which they grounded. Thinking this was the beach proper, our naval crews lowered the ramps, and the leading troops jumped out into 6 foot of water. In their heavy equipment, they sank like stones. Some others, struggling on the surface, were then run over by their own craft, which surged forward with its lightened load. Because of the weather, the tide was much higher at this hour than normal, and it helped to hide many of the underwater beach obstacles, which were sharp steel rods with mines lashed to them. Finally, there was a strong cross-current, and instead of our companies assaulting La Hamel from the front, they found themselves landed 200 yards further down the beach in a disastrous crossfire situation. Much needed support in the form of artillery and amphibious tanks, and more specialized ones called flails, designed to beat a path through the minefields, were scheduled to land with our troops at this time. Also, Royal Marine assault craft with small cannons aboard were to silence the enemy positions as the attack went in. None of this support arrived in the early stages of the beach battle, and the infantry were on their own. Intense enemy fire swept the beaches as the troops touched down and raced across to reach the sand dunes. Losses were heavy, and it was found impossible to capture La Hamel from the beach. Later, following the fall of Asnell, it was attacked from the rear in early afternoon, the Germans resisting to the bitter end. The beach was then clear for others to land. Despite all their setbacks and heavy casualties, the Hampshires went on to capture their final D-Day objective right on schedule that evening, and that was the port of Arromanches 3 miles further along the coast.